So, just in case I haven't made it clear enough, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to Batman. But this wasn't always the case. As a kid, I never really read superhero comics. And I did love the superhero movies, the Batman movies, but they were just cool superhero movies. But then, one of the greatest video games of all time was made. I'm of course talking about Batman Arkham Asylum. It was a standalone game with the sole purpose of making us Batman and introduce us to the massive lore of the comics. The game had everything going for it. Jaw-dropping fighting, cool stealth mechanics, the best graphics 2009 could afford, a team of passionate nerds with the love that was needed for the character. By the way, one of those nerds spent over 2 years just programming the cape. And with all of that, two of the greatest voice actors to ever voice Batman and the Joker. This game sprang a franchise totaling 4 games, and to this day, there's only been one superhero game that came close both in terms of quality and success. So even though it's only been 6 years since the last release, I get a feeling that as new superhero games get released, it's just gonna make us want to go back to Arkham. So today, while there is a nostalgic factor going into this is not a review from a modern perspective. We're not asking ourselves if the games aged well. They're still fairly young, and of course, they will age well. So instead, we're just going to play all of the games, see how each game evolved over time, and in the end, I'm going to be ranking the games from least good to best. Let's go! Okay, here we are, Arkham Asylum. In the first game, Batman captures Joker and brings him to the asylum, only to realize it was part of Joker's plan. The Joker breaks out, takes control of the asylum, and releases many of Batman's foes onto him.
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman! I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously! Now let's get this party started.
Ladies and maniacs, I apologize for this interruption to your regular entertainment.
I really love the fighting gameplay. Batman's style is flawless, but brutal. Jesus.
Well, I'd love to stay and chat, but I have a party to organize. I've got guests flying in from all over Arkham. You'll see.
So yeah, the whole point of the game is to stop the Joker. Along the way, we fight as thugs, either in hand-to-hand fighting or in Predator mode. Predator mode being when the thugs have firearms and must be taken out one by one.
Hey, get off me! Ah!
What are we gonna do now? We've gotta find him, or we're next, you hear me? I found someone!
Well, it looks like it's just you and the bat. Gotta say, I'm a little disappointed.
I won't say much about the gameplay, I'm sure all of you are familiar with it, but I must say I expected it to be a bit clunky in this game, coming back from Arkham Knight 3 years ago. Usually the first game in a series has the worst gameplay experience because the developers were still coming up with it. But I have to say the gameplay is solid. Makes me realize they really hit the mark on the first try. So like I said, I won't focus too much on the gameplay though. Instead, I want to focus on the things that really got to me playing this game again. As I've said, I wasn't that much of a Batman fan before I played these games, but the games made a strong effort to show the characters the way they were written in the comics.
I see anything that looks even a little
little bit like a bat, and this guard dies. Do you hear me?
In the menu of the game, you can view each character with a biography and quick facts. Certain characters, the villains mainly, also have audio tapes that can be found throughout the asylum that adds more to the lore.
Patient's name is Edward Nigma, also known as the Riddler. So, Edward, Warden Sharp tells me you've been leaving threatening riddles scrawled on the asylum walls. Again.
One would have to be severely paranoid to read threats into harmless riddles, Dr. Young.
Getting to learn about these characters that way is what got me to read the comics and read up more about Batman online. So the game made a fantastic job of introducing Batman and his enemies to lots of people who only knew the movies at most. And for the comic fans, this must have been one hell of a treat.
Never mind that. Get behind me, now. Bane.
In addition to featuring the Joker, the game also has you fight Bane, Poison Ivy, and Scarecrow. Although the latter three don't get much game time, as boss fights, they are really entertaining. And again, having them be more faithful to the comics made discovering these villains very refreshing.
That feels so much better.
Poison Ivy I only knew from Uma Thurman. Scarecrow and Bane were pretty cool in the Dark Knight trilogy, but having Bane actually be Hispanic and really seeing the horrors that Scarecrow can do, it's awesome.
I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja! No, Bane. This time I break you!
Father.
You should have stood up to him, son. Like a man.
Mom?
Help us, Bruce!
Months of planning down the crapper! I just wanted to bring down your grim facade and for once let you see the world as I see it. I have nothing to live for.
The only disappointment I had with this game is the final fight. In the end, the Joker injects himself with the Titan Serum, which is the Venom but worse, and he turns himself into a Hulk. He looks really badass in that state.
Prove something to talk about! Two freaks in a fight to the death!
But he spends most of the fight bragging to a helicopter and sending thugs after you, so you don't really fight him? It was kind of underwhelming.
You'll lose, and everyone will see. I'm out, bats! My people. Give them a kicking for me, boys!
But anyway, that's Arkham Asylum. In addition to the main storyline, there's one big side quest in the form of the Riddler.
Yes, it is I, Edward Nigma, the Riddler. And more importantly, your intellectual superior.
Riddler trophies and riddles to solve, the game has plenty of them. That's where it all started. But it's very easy to get them on your way to complete the story, so it keeps the pace of the game diverse and interesting.
Don't get too full of yourself, Dark Knight. It only gets harder from here.
But what I love the most about these riddles is the Easter eggs. Lots of riddles have you look for specific items in the scenery, most of which are usually a reference to characters that don't appear in the game, like for instance Harvey Dent or Two-Face, whose electoral poster is seen in a jail cell. How about the Penguin's umbrella on display in the Asylum's manor, along with Catwoman's gear? What about Mr. Freeze? Here he is in his frozen jail cell, a tea set from the Mad Hatter in the gardens, and even Ra's al Ghul's body in the morgue. The game is crammed with Easter eggs, which adds not only to the lore of the game and comics, but to the creepy atmosphere of the asylum. When you're not playing the main game, you can play challenges. In this section, you can fight multiple rounds for the highest score possible. I love doing those from time to time.
Come on, boys, he's just one man! One man dressed like a lunatic and armed with a team. Go get him!
However, what is really cool is you have the ability to play as the Joker.
You'll never catch me, Cash.
Fights are played the same way, but Joker's animations are pretty intense.
And the best you got.
Playing with Joker and Predator is weird though. Unlike Batman with detective mode, which allows him to see people through walls, Joker uses glasses. When you use the glasses, you cannot move around, and you can only see it in first person, which obstructs the view. So I'm sure some people can be creative and make the most of the Joker, but that's just not for me. It goes without saying though, this is still one hell of a game. Talk about living up to the hype with the sequel. Rocksteady, the developer behind Arkham Asylum, started working on Arkham City 6 months before Asylum was even released. And it's considered by many to be the best Arkham game. In Arkham City, set 1 year after Asylum, Arkham Island has been turned into a prison. They must have been heavily inspired by Escape from New York when they wrote the game, and I'm all for it. Batman is monitoring the prison when he's poisoned by the Joker and must find a cure, while also stopping Hugo Strange, the prison's warden, from achieving his ends. Right off the bat, get it? Right off the bat, the biggest difference with Asylum is the scale. Most of Asylum's story occurred indoors, the island itself not presenting much. But here, we have an entire island to ourselves. As a result, the gliding is also vastly improved. In Asylum, gliding is barely dead at all. Here, it becomes a core feature of the game as you go from one part of the island to the next. Gameplay-wise, they made a few changes, but for the most part, it's the same. But it's okay, you know? Don't fix it if it's not broken. Ultimately, upping the scale of the game is what truly allowed City to innovate over Asylum. For instance, by having a much bigger map, it was possible for the developers to add side quests. With that, they were able to introduce many villains to the game who had nothing to do with the main story, such as Bane, Zaz, Deadshot.
Right now, somewhere in Arkham City, there's a phone ringing. I know it's a big place, but you need to find it. Take too long, and I kill these piggies.
Surprised to see me, Batman?
A little. Last time I saw you, you were wrapped around the hood of my car.
You knew it would not kill me.
I wasn't trying to. Take a look at the image that's just uploaded to the Batcomputer.
Is that what I think it is, Master Bruce?
It is. Deadshot is in Arkham City.
So, it's the world's greatest detective versus the world's deadliest assassin. Who's going to win?
Not him.
And of course, the Riddler, with his f***ing trophies.
So, shall we begin?
The game also came with a couple of DLCs, allowing you to play the game in different skins, such as the Batman Beyond suit, Year 1, even the animated series, which is pretty funny. Another huge DLC was the addition of Catwoman, who comes with her own missions and Riddler trophies. I might try it someday, but right now, the DLC is $13. I had a code for it, but I bought the game used and the previous owner redeemed it. Once again, the game also has a challenge section. This time, instead of playing as the Joker, your alternative players are Robin and Knighthood, who also have different skins if you got the DLC. So same thing, either fight or hunt, it's pretty chill. I don't really have anything bad to say about Arkham City. It's the sequel we all wanted it to be.
The only way to get by in this place is to get ourselves some respect. Fear. That's how we get respect. Show them all that we do things.